surfing through through YouTube, and when I saw that, I go, I gotta bring that to Monterey. Gotta bring that to Monterey. God and God alone created all these things we call our own, from the mighty to the small. The glory of them all is God's and God's alone. Welcome to the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. For those of us who are joining in our larger family on YouTube and Zoom, we thank you for choosing the Monterey Center for your spiritual enrichment today, and at any time that you are watching this service. For those of you for those who are here in the center, and for those who are watching on Zoom, I gave you a little preview of the cards that are on your chairs and the pins that we have. And what I'm inviting you to do this morning is to, on that card, just write down what is present for me right now in this moment. And this can be related to the election. Let's relate it to the election, because that's going to be the focus of my talk this morning. What is present for me right now? What concerns do I have? What joys do I have? What fears do I have? Whatever is up for me, write that. And then also write what concerns me. You know, if there are fears, if there's something that needs to be said that has been unsaid, something that maybe we are afraid to talk about, identify that. And then at the end of the service, what I'm going to ask you to do is bring your cards up. And I'm inviting you to bring it up individually and place them in our prayer box. And what I will do, I will collect these and I will keep them in my office for a time when Spirit reveals that it's time to do a release. What I want us to not engage in is spiritual bypass. And spiritual bypass is, I'll give you an example. You know, someone says, well, how are you feeling about the election? Oh, well, you know, God's got this. Yes, God's got this, but God expressing itself through us made the decisions that have been made. So we can't blame it on God. We can't blame it on one another. What I want us to do is be alive and fresh to the divisions that are still going on in our country. And I would say this, to those who the election was favorable, let's not gloat in that favorableness. For those who the election was not the outcome that you desired, let's not move into that place of despair and hopelessness. Right now is a time for us to be raw and open to what is going on with each one of us individually. There will be a time for healing. There will be a time for unity. And I do believe and I do know that God and God alone has all of this under control. And there will be a time when we will come together and do a releasing. But for the meantime, I will hold these cards in my office. There will be in a sealed envelope. And again, when Spirit guides me, we will do a releasing service. But again, I want to caution you against engaging in spiritual bypass. And so this morning, I just want us to be in that place of recognizing that love is the only power. Ernest Holmes talks about abundance a lot in the Science Mind textbook. And because my battery is low, I don't have the quotes that I wanted to share. Well, maybe it's coming back up. Before moving on, though, I want to acknowledge the beautiful floral arrangement that we have this morning. And this is brought to us by Nat and his daughter, who are here with us this morning. And the beautiful flowers are in memory of their beloved Juanita, Nat's wife, and Tracy, and Tracy's mom. So thank you for allowing us to continue to celebrate the life that brought so much joy and energy to each one who knew your mom and your wife, Juanita. And we appreciate you sharing this time with us. And so let's talk about what's going on in the world. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I had started preparing my talk for on Monday. And also I was really proud of myself because I write an article for our newsletter every week. And I had the article done on Tuesday. And generally I'm at the 11th hour on Wednesday completing it to get it to our editors so we can go to press on Thursday. And so I was feeling really proud of myself that I had all of this done. And the election occurred. Wednesday morning I came in and I rewrote the entire letter. I go, no, it's not real. You know, it's not addressing what is prevalent in the world. And so as we just be in that place of mindfulness that the divisions that are in our country are not, the outcome of the election is the effect. We're living in the world of, what we're seeing is what is known as the world of effect. As people of faith and as practitioners of these universal principles of truth, we're called to move higher than the world of effect. What we're invited to do is to look at the cause. And the root cause of what we're seeing with the divisions in our country have many, the roots, I'm thinking of, I have a plant that the roots are growing. There's an opening in the pot, and so the roots are growing through there because I need to repot it. But those roots have many twists and turns and many connections. And so when we take the time to go back and look at the cause of what has led up to this particular time, and we are here for such a time as this. We're all here for such a time as this. We need to go back to basics. And the basics are God is, and that everything is in divine, right, and perfect order. Now, that may sound like spiritual bypass, but that is a truth. In recognizing that things are, for some, out of alignment, for some, we're coming back into alignment, there's a process that we're going through. And it's a process of re-examining, this is really a time for us to go within. You know, the results, the outcome of this election is an invitation for us to do a deep dive internally and to really examine what is meaningful for us in this life, individually as well as collectively. There's no one right way and there's no wrong way. There are many ways to get to the truth. You know, one of the things that we recognize in our New Thought teaching is that God is known by many names and is known in many forms. And so we have the ability to embrace each of those forms and each of those names, not declaring that the names that we use, and I know, I'm just remembering a friend of mine, her daughter was not a New Thought individual, and occasionally she would come to church with her mom, and she'd say, you know, I need to bring a dictionary when I come into your church because you use all these different terms that I feel I have to look up. And sometimes we have our own lectionary in religious science, and sometimes we use terms that may not be familiar to someone who is not of our tradition. And so it is our job, it is incumbent upon us to find that language where we all are on one accord, to find the words and the expressions that are inclusive, that are not off-putting, that are not welcoming and bringing comfort. And this is what we're striving for now. is that place where we can come together, a spiritual community like this, spiritual communities all over the place, where we can come together and appreciate one another, to love on one another, to listen to one another, and to listen from the standpoint of understanding, not listening to respond. And this is, I think, is where we get in a lot of trouble, and it's probably reflected in the outcome of the election. We have not been listening to one another. We have not been listening to each other for understanding. We've been listening to each other, and we're picking apart the other's conversation to insert our points of view as a response, rather than to say, I understand. We may not agree, but I am willing to listen to your perspective, and I invite you to listen to my perspective. I had someone that I follow on social media and sent a message to me and said, "You're probably going to hate me." And I go, "Hate you for what? What have you done that I don't know about? Or has there been some boundary that you've crossed that we didn't talk about?" And so I responded and I said, "I don't have room in my heart for hate for no one. This just not, it's not my style. It's not my makeup." And so I said, "What is it that you have done that you feel would cause me to hate you?" And the response was, "I voted for the person that won." I go, and so then but I did continue the conversation and asked, "Share with me what inspired you to cast your vote in that direction." So the response came in, and then I responded and said, "And this is why I chose to vote the way that I voted." And we both were at that point of listening, and we both were at that point of being able to understand the other's point of view and perspective. And we ended that conversation by saying, we move forward knowing that everything resolves itself back into God. And so it's those types of experiences that we engage in that really open us to be present for the other person. In certain traditions, in certain cultural traditions, slow down. In certain cultural traditions, there is a practice of honoring the four directions. And this is a time for us to honor those four directions and to call in joy, to call in peace, to call in compassion, to call in unconditional love, to call in understanding, to call in appreciation for each other, to call in the vibrance of being in community, to call in the joy of living in these United States of America. And to remember, in our Pledge of Allegiance, it says, we are one nation indivisible under God, with liberty and justice for all. And contained within that liberty and justice for all is this idea of abundance, which we're talking about this month. And abundance calls for wise stewardship, the stewardship of honoring the natural resources that we have, preserving those natural resources, using them in right ways. That practice of stewardship calls for us to share of our time and our talent and our treasure. That practice of stewardship calls us to be present in those moments where we may not feel like it. We may not want to. And the sharing of our resources also calls for us to create boundaries within our own selves, and to honor the boundaries that are for the highest and best of the community. This is what we are about. This is what we're called to do. And there is a story that I came across as I was preparing for this, and it's a story of The story is my corn. No, my neighbor's corn. So the story goes that there's a farmer who has the very best quality of corn that is in that local community and always wins the yearly prize for having the best crop of corn. And so a reporter asked him what was his secret to doing what was his secret for growing this really quality corn? And he said, I share my corn with my neighbors. I share my seeds with my neighbors. And the reporter said, well, why would you do that? You know, doesn't that diminish you in some way? And he says, no, it's actually the opposite. By sharing my corn seeds with my neighbors, I know that as the wind comes and as things are cross-pollinated, that if my corn gets cross-pollinated with an inferior corn, then it diminishes the quality. And so by sharing my corn seeds, I am assured that not only will my corn be of good quality, but my neighbor's corn will be of good quality also. And so this is what we're called for such a time as this, is to share our corn, or to share whatever that metaphor is for you, so that in the cross-pollination of our interactions with one another, because we're all interconnected, in those times where there's a feeling of a disconnect, we can come back to this point of recognizing that we may not always be on the same page. And if we were, how boring that would be. Really, really. You know, we like to say in New Thought that we come together as like-minded people, you know, and we're seeking out these like-minded people to come together. Sometimes we need to bring in those people who are not like-minded as we think that we are, so that we have an opportunity to engage in that dialogue. And this is the importance of community. This is the importance of our reaching out. And this is one of the things that I am continuing to work on, is to identify ways where we can reach out as the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living, knowing that we are a community-based organization and that we welcome all into our community. And this is one of the reasons why we are promoting our space for rent. And I want to give a shout out to our congregant Amy, who has been taking our flyers around, and especially posting the Tai Chi experience that we have here on Monday mornings. But being an advocate, we received a phone call during the week that has resulted in a rental agreement to use the space in a couple of weeks. And it was a result of a flyer that someone saw, or a conversation that Amy had with someone. So each time we have those opportunities to plant the seed, let's plant the seed. Let's plant seeds of kindness, plant seeds of compassion, plant seeds of love, plant seeds of joy, plant seeds of recognizing that we are all interconnected with each other. And as I kind of wrap this up, hoping I haven't rambled too much this morning, but I tell you, Spirit has really been working with me on this. But I want to wrap it up by two things. In the early, in the late 50s and in the early 60s, there was a song that was made popular by Diana Washington. It says, "What a difference a day makes." And so if we reflect back to the outcome of the election, we can truly say, what a difference a day makes. And as we move forward, I'm going to channel Michael Jackson, which says, in order to bring about a change, we have to look at the man or the woman or the face that's in the mirror. So he says, I'm looking at the one in the mirror. And if the change is to be, I am the one that is to bring that change. And so I invite us to look in the mirror of our lives, and agree, commit to ourselves to be the change, in the words of Gandhi, to be the change that we wish to see in the world. And that change is, I show up as an authentic representation of the divine. That's the change. It's not about changing somebody else. It's about changing our own selves. And as Lynn offered in our reading this morning, it's not about looking for the lost souls, because we wouldn't know where to find them anyway, because no one is lost in spirit. And because no one is lost in spirit, it brings us back to this point of remembering that we're all one in God. We're all interconnected. And I invite us to share our affirmation for the week together. And I'm going to have to turn and look at the screen. I am open and receptive to my highest good in mind, body, and financial affairs here and now. And this is by our friend Catherine Ponder. Let's say that again. I am open and receptive to my highest good in mind, body, and financial affairs here and now. So let us turn within and take this moment. Just be in that place of connection with the God of our understanding. And I begin this prayer by saying, Spirit of the living God within, fall afresh on me. Fall afresh on me as I know and as I remember and as I affirm that there is only one life. That life is God's life. It is whole. It is perfect. It is complete. It is a life that I am living right here and right now. And as this is true for me, it is true for all people in all places and at all times. There's only one of us here. We're all interconnected by this source that shows up in various forms, in various ways, in various stages, in various expressions. And so I affirm and declare this morning that as I continue to know my oneness with Source, and as I continue to recognize the interconnectedness of everyone and everything, that I do my best as I look at the one in the mirror, as I look at that reflection, I do my best to be my authentic self, that I show up in a place of love. I show up as a place of compassion. I show up as a place of peace. I show up as a place of integrity. I honor the life that I live. I give thanks for the life that I live, and I give thanks for everyone that is a part of my life, those who I know as well as those who I don't know. Because again, those I don't know, I am interconnected with them in some way, in some form. And so as I speak this truth for myself, I invite you to embrace it as your truth, if you are willing to do so. Recognizing that there is a power and a presence for good in the universe, and that power and that presence is available to each one of us right here, right now, in this very moment. And so as we move forward on the spectrum that is called life, on this journey that is leading us back to Source, I declare that each one is whole, perfect, and complete. And in recognizing our wholeness and our completeness and our perfection in the eye and mind of God, we also live in this human experience. And in this human experience, we experience things in the material world. And so for those who are experiencing the transition of a loved one, that loved one that has maybe stepped off of the mortal plane and is now expressing in a new and higher dimension. Or perhaps there's a separation or divorce or a disconnect over something that may be known or unknown, we know that all is well, and that whatever it is that is to be revealed will be revealed at the time that I am and we are ready to receive that revelation. I speak a word of blessing for those who are seeking right and perfect shelter, whether it be those who are choosing to live inside or outside, knowing that the place that is chosen is a place that is safe, that is affirming, that is uplifting, that brings joy and beauty into the life experience. I speak my word of appreciation and affirmation for places where people are coming together in the name and nature of the God of their understanding, the God of many forms, the God of many names, knowing that all paths lead back to the one source. And as we travel together along these paths, at those points where we intersect at a place of respect. We intersect at a place of love. We intersect at a place of understanding. We intersect at a place of identifying our uniqueness and appreciating the uniqueness that each one brings to the table. And so for this, for the prayers that remain in the silence of our hearts, for this and so much more, I am truly grateful. And I release this word now into that law, which always says yes, knowing that it is done and it is done well and it is complete. And so I just allow it to be. And if any of what I have said resonates with you in any way, please affirm it as we say together, and so it is. So it is. And so if you've had an opportunity to fill out your card, I invite you to bring it down and place it in the prayer chest, and I will bring mine down. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's take in a collective breath and release it. As we now prepare for our time of gracious giving. We are a donation-based organization, and I want to thank you for the marvelous ways that you continue to support our spiritual community that allows us to not only bring to you the Sunday celebration via technology, but allows us to come together as community, to come together as people, and to just love on one another, to embrace one another, and to remind ourselves that we are the place where God shows up. We have an affirmation of abundance, and I would like us to say that together. Recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so it is. And so we have ways on our screen for those of you who are viewing to mail in your donation or to text your donation, or you may also give to our website, www.montereycsl.org. We appreciate you and we thank God for you. And we invite you to join us next week, those who are viewing via Facebook or YouTube. We invite you to join us next week And what is our title for next week? What is our talk for next week? Our talk for next week is, we have a special guest next week. And that is Brian Lotman, who is a wandering monk. Brian will be here to share with us both music and message, and his topic will be awakening the heart. So I invite you to join us. If you're out of the area, please join via Zoom for the entire service, or by Facebook or YouTube for our talk and Brian's presentation. And then following the service, Brian will be performing a satsang. The satsang will be available in person only. It will not be available via Zoom. So we invite you to stay for that. Also on next Sunday, the Interfaith Council of Carmel is celebrating their 16th annual celebration of gratitude. And our Monterey Center is a member of the Interfaith Outreach of Carmel and the surrounding areas. The program will take place at the Carmel Mission Basilica. Music will be provided by the Basilica Schola Cantorium and also the Monterey Peninsula Gospel Choir. And that begins at 3 o'clock. So if you're joining us for Brian's satsang from 12 until 2, then you have an opportunity to take a little break and join us in Carmel at 3 o'clock. And if you're not joining us for the satsang, we still invite you to come and join and be a part of our Monterey community as we celebrate with our friends and neighbors in the interfaith community. And the Basilica, for those of you who may be new to the area, is at 3080 Rio Road in Carmel by the Sea. So we invite you to take advantage of that. Tomorrow, Veterans Day, our facility will be closed with the exception of Tai Chi. We will be having Tai Chi, and I don't see Cindy. I thought she would be here this morning. But with or without Cindy, we will have Tai Chi tomorrow morning, and then we'll go and just celebrate Veterans Day, honoring those who gave so much for the safety and security of our country, and we just honor and celebrate each one. Today, following service is our Soul Collage, which is hosted by Denise Kaku, and this will take place from noon until 2 in the Sunshine Room, and the suggested donation is $30 to cover the cost of the materials that are used in the workshop.